We're 5 mythical immortal players with over 40,000 matches of experience, and today we need to talk about the new meta. With the latest patches, there were so many changes that we need to completely reset our mindset in many areas to stay on top of our enemies. Otherwise, we will become like one of those headless chickens who still believe the 4 marksmen of doom are trash. But in order to know how we have to change our mindset, we need to look at the history, which means what were the previous metas from the last seasons. I promise this history lessons won't be as boring as your history teacher in school. From season 23 to season 21, everybody enjoyed the tank meta. No, let's be real, many people hated it. The jungler as a tank, the XP laner acts as a pseudo tank, and the roamer is obviously a tank as well. Triple T, yo! 3 heroes take all the damage while the gold and mid laner stand behind and watches the world burn. This meta has been one of the longest ever. Longest in seasons, longest in team fights, and even with many nerfs, the tank meta just never died. But then, all of a sudden, there was a light. Was there still any hope? During season 27, we saw a new era, and one of the rarest actually. We all saw the rise of the marksman that used the cursed item combo, the Trinity build, which gave us the Trinity build meta. With the synergy of Corrosion Scythe, DHS and Golden Staff, there was hope after all. Heroes like Moskov, Claude and Carry shine the most during that time, but even our faves like Mia, Hanabi and Layla were somewhat usable during season 27. It was the era of the marksman. But many tanks were still super popular and those bulky MFers were still dominating the S tiers. Then everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked. What? Wrong story, wait. With the rise of the new emblems and the adjustments of many items, there is a new and more powerful meta on the way. Because of the increased spell vamp, lifesteal and heal, no one is dying anymore. Gone are the lineups with 3 tanks, because now we have the rise of the HP fountain heroes like Florin, Essus or Angela, and the rise of the selfish self-regen heroes like Alpha. Okay, that's a little stretch saying he rise after he got hit by the nerf from but Uranus, Yuzong and Terizla. So let's say our quick goodbyes because you will not be missed, tank meta. By the way, if you haven't already, make sure to re-download Mobile Legends with Apptite to get up to 30% more diamonds using my code MLGuide. After following the simple tutorial in the description or the pinned comment, you can simply buy diamonds to get free AppCoins that you can use to get more free diamonds. Here I just bought diamonds worth $30 and because of the AppCoins that I receive, I could get another 275 diamonds for free. Just imagine buying diamonds with the Google Play Store and receive nothing for it. So again, invest the 2 minutes of your time by following the simple tutorial in the description or the pinned comment and get more diamonds for your money. Now let's welcome the new meta, the Sustain meta. Curious what it is? Before we get to know what Sustain meta even means, I think we need to first talk about what a meta actually is. And no, it has nothing to do with these guys who created this devastating website. Meta actually means most effective tactics available. The meta revolves around the agreed strategies, observed changes and tactics available that can be called the best way to win the game. In Mobile Legends, we have seen the meta change from season to season, with heroes getting buffed, revamped and nerfed. During season 27, when the pro players tried out builds and used them in the pro tournaments, we could see that they were immediately applied in your day-to-day matches as well. For a month straight, we could see, for example, Carry melting down a Uranus with a Trinity build alone. All of a sudden, the usual build of Windtalker and Berserker's Fury was not the meta anymore, so heroes like Melissa, Moskov, Carry and Claude became the top tier marksmen during season 27. Because having them in your team meant you have the highest chance of winning, as they were the most effective gold laners. Below 1-1 of course, who was still broken AF at this point. In contrary, other marksmen like Clint, Irothel, Popol or Bruno were not so popular anymore, because they didn't benefit as much from the newest strategy and were therefore less effective. What about the tank meta then? Also used first in the professional scene, jungler mains from the MPL suddenly used tanks as their heroes, which were again applied in normal matches right away. Heroes like Hayabusa, Ling, Lancelot and Fanny became ineffective and became less picked during this meta. Well, until someone thought it might be a fun idea to slap a tank build on Lancelot, which works insanely well and brought him back into the meta. We have seen the rise of heroes such as Akai and Bharat, or even back then Bashia, who took the jungle role, combined with sturdy XP laners like Terisla, Esmeralda, Lapu Lapu Glue or Yuzong, alongside tanks like Franco, Atlas and Kufra, or even healers like Estes. Many players were sitting in front of the screen and just thought, how the hell can we even beat down the enemy team now? At first it was fun, but as it became the meta for literally 1 year, it got boring, uninterested and overused. This strategy made it easy for marksmen and mages to safely attack from the backline without fearing that they will die in a teamfight. Teamfights literally took forever and many heroes were just useless AF. Nico, you talk so much. Let us know about the new sustain meta now. Alright, chill. Here we go. With the recent changes in Mobile Legends, most importantly the new emblem system and the latest patches, the whole playground got turned upside down and heroes who were useless are suddenly one of the most banned. With the talent Festival of Blood, which gives an absurd amount of spell vamp, and Brave Smite, which restores HP without any effort, many junglers, fighters and even a few tanks could utilize them to increase their survivability in the game. On the emblem side, we have the basic common emblem, which gives hybrid regen, so both HP and mana regen, and the custom support emblem, which immediately gives plus 50% healing effect. Heroes who depend on mana don't need to prioritize mana items anymore and can build their core items straight away, which is obviously a huge indirect buff for those heroes. Uranus is the best example, who is a basic common emblem abuser, as he literally can't die unless you play him like a headless chicken. The few buffs he received combined with the recent changes turned him from an okay hero at best to one of the top 5 banned heroes of the game. The 15% healing effect from the support emblem buffed all support heroes who rely on heals and turned many healing supports like Angela and Florine into meta heroes. And when we start to talk about the item changes, oh boy, I don't even know where to start. With the fusion of Scarlet Phantom and Heart's Claws, marksman users can get both crit chance and lifesteal from one item now. We have items like Endless Battle, which gives hybrid lifesteal, Bloodlust Axe for spell vamp, and even the forgotten item Queen's Wings is usable by some heroes again, which allows junglers and fighters to tank damage sustained by lifesteal or spell vamp, and boom! Nobody dies anymore. For our magic users out there, we have items like Stalom Scythe, which gives hybrid lifesteal, and of course the ever famous Concentrated Energy, which allows our magic friends to deal damage and at the same time regen their lost HP to become hard to kill. And again, I need to mention our supports who were down in the drain for way too long. Florine has a super strong skill set with 2 healing skills. Most importantly, her global heal, which even negates anti-heals until now. Estes, who can act as a walking hospital with his powerful ultimate skill. And even Angela is really strong right now with a huge shield, which can be even further increased using magic items. Watch our support itemization video for more details how to build those heroes. Support heroes can really be as important as tanks right now, which was rarely the case before. Now, do you get the point? What is the most effective way to survive in a team fight? Yes, sustain. No more tanking the damage, no more defensive item stacking to make you unkillable, just get your lost HP back so it never goes to 0. Now, why was the tank meta even falling in the first place? There are 2 reasons for that. With the higher penetration from the assassin emblem, it became more effective to use assassins, as they benefit big time from this change, especially in the early game. I mean, higher penetration paired with multiple flat pen items? Good luck with sustaining any incoming damage when your defense is going into the deep minus region. Especially because damage is becoming much higher when the flat pen is higher than the enemy's defense. Even Lancelot is back where he was before. He went from assassin to tanks a lot and back to assassin again. This was of course benefited from the nerf on tanks a lot, which just shows out that Moonton really want to go away from the tank meta, as it just became boring. And a boring meta means a boring game, which means players stop playing the game, which means less money for Moonton. Typical junglers like Fanny, Ling, Lancelot and Hayabusa are now way better than tanks like Akai, Barats and Bashia. Now, all metas has their ups and downsides. No meta is alive forever and we can always break the code. And although this meta feels fresh, it will also become scale if it goes on for over a year. So what are the positive and negative sides from this new meta? First, the sustain meta rewards players who play smart. From choosing the right emblem that works well with your hero, to the right itemization that can maximize your hero's performance or counter the enemy, players who learn how proper itemization but also rotation and map awareness works benefit massively from the new meta. As it's not a simple case of, I'm a freaking tank, I just build death items and you cannot kill me because lol anymore. Secondly, the sustain meta focuses on synergy-based gameplay. In solo queue, where you play with random people, you always get some good, some meh, and some other trash where you don't even know how they even escape the tutorial. It is always a 50-50 chance if you get a good team or not. One of your stars is always on your line when you play solo queue, so you can see it as a pro argument that synergy is being rewarded. As hopefully some players will realize that playing together with the allies is more beneficial than being a selfish prick who takes all the farm and runs into every 1v5 they can find. The chances are much higher in higher ranks, of course, which is why we will make a special video how to escape the lower ranks very soon. But just for now, imagine a world where a support is assisting the marksman in the early game, but without babysitting them as they rotate to assist their team during clashes, and actually use the heal smart and not pop their ult 5 hours before a bloody gank even starts. Imagine fighters who actually know how to wave cut so they can rotate, while at the same time they balance their offense and defense gameplay. And imagine a marksman player who know that proper itemization is the key to success and that their only goal is to get farmed. So they know how to stay safe, how to farm as much as possible, and that they shouldn't die. Sounds too good to be true, eh? Well, you can change that fact by sharing our guides, as we talked about each of these things multiple times over the years. Now, there are of course also some cons when it comes to the new meta. First, as things changed a lot, it is very hard for casual players to keep up with the changes. Heroes who were hidden in the ML dungeon for years suddenly became much better in the new patch, while other heroes fell down faster than your... So especially in lower ranks, it became even more random if you get good or bad allies. Fighting 3 enemies who watches ML guides regularly while all of your allies don't even know that guides exist will be the norm. And let's be honest, that's not fun at all. Secondly, this meta is prone to errors. With spell vamp, lifesteal and heals, players now need to become more aggressive, which also leads to more greediness. And we all know what happens to greedy players, right? They can easily choke, which results in them tilting. Now, without relying on being tanky AF, one wrong gank and even one wrong dash can lead to your death, which then can lead to your allies dying as well as they gank outnumbered. And when this happens again and again, your team starts to feed, the enemy gains more gold, you can fight back anymore, you lose, you cry, the end. To avoid this, we finally need to talk about how to maximize the sustain meta. You surely want to reach Mythical Immortal this season, right? If so, stay with me until the end now and become better than 90% of your enemies. For junglers, your main priority is to farm as fast as you can and take objectives for the team to gain momentum. You also always need to know how your items work for you. Do you need burst damage like Fanny? Get Blade of the Eptases as first item? No wait, there's another item you need to get first. If you know the answer, you clearly watched a lot of our guides already. Because the first item you really have to get is Fury Hammer, which is the best low tier item for any assassin or burst hero. Physical burst, not magic burst of course. Do you need additional lifesteal like Hareth? Get concentrated energy. And make sure to get the right low tier item that is part of its build. In this case, it's Mystic Container. Do you need spell vamp like Arthur? Use Bloodlust Axe. Using the right items is so important, so you can become a valuable asset of your team. You chose your main hero, so make sure to study which is the real best build in Emblem for that hero. For Marksman, your main job is to stay alive and farm, and then farm more. Yes, pushing turrets is also important so your team has a better control of the map, but until you have 2 to 3 core items, your main priority should be always to get as much farm as possible and making sure you have 0 deaths on your board. Trust me, if you follow this simple plan, you will be surprised how many games you can win without too much trouble. With the rise of the assassins, you are now more prone of being ganked and tower dived by the enemy team. So you need to play even smarter than before by tower hugging, poking and mastering your itemization. You also need to communicate with your team and make sure that they support you, as you alone will have an impossible task to solve when being ganked by multiple enemies without any help. What I love to do is write a quick reminder in the draft phase to your allies. Something like, please don't forget to gank me, smiley face. Often works wonders as many other players seek for friendly players. That's another random tip, by the way. Be friendly to your allies. Do you really think allies want to help you when you're toxic AF towards them? No, of course not. So by being friendly in solo queue, you increase your chances massively that your allies will actually work with you together. ML can be so simple if you just make it easy for yourself. For mages, itemization, map awareness and positioning is the key to success. If you haven't watched our new video about mages, you should do this ASAP if you're a mage main. As a mage, all you need to do is become the team's magic damage dealer and provide CC effects such as slow, burn, terrify, freeze, blah 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 to help the jungler snowballing. Generally, remember to work together with your jungler and roamer who is hopefully not babysitting, and help your side laners to fulfill their job. You as a mage are somewhat a support hero as well, and it's your job to support your allies with damage and CC effects. So pretty much everything what you should have done before anyway, and the mage job didn't really change except that there are now many more assassins who can easily slice you apart. As XP laner, your task is to protect your lane, rotate when it's needed, deal damage and also sustain the incoming damage for your team. You should maximize the uses of the potential emblem combos, for example Festival of Blood plus Brave Smite to have a better 1v1 on your lane. You should also learn when to harass the enemies, when to stay safe, when to cut the lane
2,000 years later.
And when not to, when to buy defensive or offensive items, and how to assist in team fights. A great balance between offensive and defense plays are the key to become a great XP laner in the sustain meta. For tanks, everything stayed more or less the same. You need to counter the enemies with your items, provide vision, apply hard CC skills and be the punching bag of the enemy. With how many regen heroes are currently running around, Dominance Ice Cream is one of the most important items to get. Otherwise, just build the defense item you need to build against the current enemies and you're good to go. Lastly, for supports, your role is one of the most important in the sustain meta. Your heals make it possible for your allies to stay much longer alive, and your rotation opens up the map for your team. Then you only need to learn how to time your healing in a team fight, as you don't want to start the heal before the team fight even starts, but also not when 3 of your allies already laid down in the dirt. You want to start the heal right when the enemies are throwing their random BS at your allies, so they can sustain all the incoming damage to then destroy the enemies who have nothing left. Now many of you ask, of course, which are the best heroes who can fulfill these roles. For that, make sure to check out our latest tier list video so you know exactly which are the best heroes in the current meta. Also a huge shout out to our MLG family members, especially the Mythical Glory members like Fanny Bootcamp and Nadav CK. See ya over there, and my voice is still because I had a freaking cold.